Now, there's a new sheriff in town. Greater Johannesburg Region ANC chairperson Geoff Makhubo is the new mayor of Joburg. Makhubo replaces Herman Mashaba, who resigned in October. Now, he was up against the DA's Funzela Ngobeni and the EFF's Musa Novella. Political analyst Lesiba Tefo joining us from Pretoria to bring us some more analysis on this. Lesiba, good evening. Thanks so much for your time. So the feeling out there generally from other observers is that as Joburg residents, we should be worried that a man who is mired in such controversy, a man who's been accused of or allegations of city capture surround him as well, is now the new mayor of Johannesburg. Do you agree?
Yeah. Well, look, I'm surprised that others are surprised by that, because it has become the norm. Maybe someone might even argue that it is difficult to find people who are fairly clean to assume certain offices. And therefore, maybe they are a bit unfair to say Geoff should not take the position because they might be sounding holier than thou. Well, perhaps they are not worthy of that. Just one example, this afternoon, the deputy public protector being appointed. There is a cloud hanging or clouds hanging around her. Nonetheless, you use your numbers, you bulldoze, and you go on. A few months down the line, you say, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. That's the way we are going on now, and regrettably so.
So what do you see happening here in the city of Joburg? Because the bigger questions here for us, Lesiba, are what now becomes of the DA, what now becomes of the EFF? The DA, and you've seen the finger pointing, the EFF and even the ANC alluding to suggestions that DA members have voted with ANC members to get Geoff Makhubo into this position, and you know, saying that there might be more to come. So it's not just about him being elected mayor, but what is happening with other parties, especially the DA and the EFF.
Look, what happened there seemed to say to me that the same might apply in Tshwane when they go again for the election. It speaks to a profound problem that South Africa is facing at this juncture. Once upon a time, we had a policy on floor crossing. The question is, the people in Johannesburg and the people in KwaZulu-Natal voted in a certain way for certain parties. There were trade-offs now to say, I give you X in KwaZulu-Natal, and if you give me Z in Johannesburg. Is that how we want to play politics? And what is in it for me seems to be critical. Right now, the EFF, I'm sure they must be smarting wherever they are. And they must be learning the hard way gradually as they go on. That their role as the kingmaker is beginning to lose currency, because they are seen, perceived and understood to be not policy driven, but driven by what is in it for me. And that they've been ignored to some extent in this saga. I think it gives them a signal. Your days, if you are not careful, are getting numbered.
Now, I'm just looking at such confidence from, you know, his ANC comrades in him. Looking at, for example, what David Makura had to say, congratulating Geoff Makhubo, saying Joburg is one of the cities that has the responsibility to pull our nation out of the current economic challenges. We're confident that you will lead our people to prosperity. Now, we understand that he's very revered in the ANC, but are they a bit misguided, or do you think that there might be something there, that there might be something to this man that might do Joburg some good?
I don't know him much, but one thing I know is that wherever the DA has been given an opportunity to govern, it has done exceptionally well, or it has done fairly well. And I think even their detractors at one level accede to that. I know that in Nelson Mandela Bay, Trollip was removed only for people to regret subsequently and to begin a campaign to dislodge Bobani. That is another thing. But even the Auditor General would attest to the fact that through his reports, wherever they are given a chance, they do a good job. Why, if the ANC has done so well in the past 20 years in Johannesburg, they would have been ditched by the majority to a point where a coalition government was necessary? Why indeed, if there wasn't some trade-offs and trading in what? In people's votes, right? In a very unethical way, if I may to put it that way, that you end up in government and you want to celebrate that. If the electorate had decided you were worthy, I would celebrate that. But it isn't exactly what was the case earlier on.
So how do you see the upcoming local government elections panning out with everything that you've said, Jelisiba? And you've got me thinking then, you know, were all these shenanigans happening sort of behind the scenes when we saw what was happening with Herman Mashaba, when we saw what was happening in the DA with Musi Maimane? Did all of that lead to the point where the ANC was playing some games, getting some people on its side, making sure that it was, you know, it was setting itself up for posts like this or for this kind of comeback? How do you see the next local government elections panning out with all of this having happened?
I think all this are to the advantage of the ANC. While they might not have acquitted themselves well, I think behind the scene they are doing pretty well, precisely because they can dispense patronage. Remember the decampaigning against the DA in the Western Cape, and even at national level, by Madame Patricia de Lille, handsomely rewarded. Then you look at the allegations made today that there are members of the DA who voted with the ANC. Obviously, they are going to be rewarded. So when in Africa, and not in the ANC, in Africa, that's really what it is about. When you can dispense patronage, or when you come from our tribal group, ethnic group, as ethnic extraction is a real currency in Africa, you stand a good chance. So I'm saying the ANC is very likely to do well across the provinces come 2021. I suspect the loser here, it will be the EFF and the DA. The DA must look at itself in a very critical way and ask itself, what could have been the Zille factor in all this? And what will the Zille factor here be come next 2021?
It has its work cut out for it. Thank you very much there, Lisiba Tefo in Pretoria there. And